Hello everyone, my name is Jennifer and welcome to Best Kept Plans. Today's video is going to be a monthly budget recap for February 2026 using the Budget by Paycheck workbook from the Budget Mom. If you're interested in seeing that, please stick around. As I said in my introduction, today's video is going to be a monthly budget recap for February 2026. I did quickly just want to start in my monthly spread, showing that all of my bills for the month were checked off because they were paid for. And now we're going to jump towards the last few pages in the February section so that we can talk about a couple of different things. First, we're going to discuss the debt payment plan. The only source of debt that I currently have is my Nelnet student loan. I have an interest rate that's just over 5%. This minimum payment is something that I've basically put in place. My student loans are currently on hold because they are federal student loans, but I'm actively trying to pay off this debt. So I would like to put $400 towards it every single month, no matter what. And then I didn't have a lot of extra debt activity this month. The only other activity this month was the payment that my employer made for $333.33. So total debt this month that we paid off was just over $700. Now, we didn't get to look at my monthly debt progress and overall debt progress as specifically in my January recap because I hadn't closed out my budget in December. So last month we had a debt total of 14,500 and change. This month we're at 13,600 and change. That means we've made progress of about $847.45 or 1.2%. In terms of overall debt, this number here was my debt total in June 2022 when I purchased my vehicle. That was my vehicle plus my student loans at that time, though I had been paying on my student loans for a while already. And that was $70,910.32. We're now down to $13,696.95, which means that I have paid off $57,213.37 since June of 2022, which is pretty great. And that's 81% of my debt paid off. So we are under the 20%, which is really exciting. This next page is my monthly net worth tracker. And at the top here, I just have my net worth from last month because we're going to be comparing that. Now, on the left side here, we have assets. I do keep the breakdown of my assets private, but my total assets for February were $544,751.71. My debt was my student loan, which we talked about on the last page. And if I subtract my debt from my assets, my net worth for this month is $531,054.76, which was an increase of a little over 3,500 or 0.7%. So it's nice that I made a little bit of an increase in my net worth this month. Given everything that's happening in the country currently, I'm anticipating that that's not going to be the same for March, unfortunately, but I'm taking this as a little bit of a win. Next, we have monthly budget category breakdown, which is my favorite page to close out. This is the page I feel like I get the most information out of. And along the top here, we have my starting balance, which is the money that I rolled over from January into February 2026, which was $876. My earned income is my income from my full-time job, and that was $6,765.24. Other income, $1,653.78. This was a combination of the $333.33 that my employer puts towards my student loans, and the rest of this was because I booked a trip with my friend and I paid for it, and then she gave me the money for her half. And then savings used, a bunch of this was for that same trip. So a bunch of this was for that, not all of it, but the majority of it. And then the total monthly inflow ended up being $11,429.59, which should match our outflow once we go through all of our budgeting categories. Now, if we take a look at our budgeting categories here, we have food, which is now encompassing my groceries as well as eating out. The monthly budget is $600 and I spent $459.95, so I was under budget by about 140. Gas, I budget 100. I spent 76. That's going to be going up, I'm sure, for March. And so I was under budget by 24. Miscellaneous is the cash spending out of my miscellaneous envelope. I budgeted at 300. I spent 22, so well under budget by over 250. Miscellaneous bills, a big chunk of this was that vacation that I paid for. Like, at least my friend's portion came out of here, $3,135.33. Utilities are going to be like my home phone, internet cable, and my cell phones. I paid 356.43, which was a little bit high. My home phone internet cable did go up at the end of last year, and so it was higher in January and February. I did speak with them. They are lowering my bill, so it's going to go down a little bit for March, which is great. Housing is just my rent, which is 600. Giving is to my church, $20. Debt, this is my student loan debt, 400, because that's what I want to put towards it, but with my employer it ended up being 733.33. Personal, that's going to be Kindle Unlimited, Spotify, Netflix, those things that are not necessities, but I do pay for. And that total was $60.57. Savings, a little bit of a bummer. I was definitely under in savings. I ended up saving a little over $2,000. I always want to save at least $3,000. A bit of why this was so low is because I ended up with my two pay periods this month not actually putting much of anything towards my house savings because I knew that I purchased my laptop, but I actually haven't been charged for my laptop yet, which is why we're not seeing that in debt. I've put the cash aside, majority of the cash aside that I was going to put towards my house savings, and I'm going to put that towards my laptop once I'm charged for it. Sinking funds, that was like my vacation spending because that came out of my travel sinking fund and a little bit of other spending out of sinking funds, which ended up being $1,654.57. So my March starting balance is basically money that I'm rolling over from February into March 2026. And I did get paid towards the end of the month. I got paid on the 26th. So there was still a fair amount of cash sitting in my checking account that was going to get spent in the first couple of weeks of March. But I also had the extra cash that I'm planning on putting towards my laptop. So that's why this amount is $2,225.96. All of this added together does equal $11,429.59, which matches our inflow, which means that we were off by $0 for this budget, which is very, very exciting. And with that, we're actually done with this February budget recap. Overall, not thrilled, but not completely displeased with the way that February went. Again, like I had to kind of switch around what my plan was because of the fact that I had to purchase a laptop. So I didn't really get to put much towards house savings. I didn't put any extra really towards my student loans. As soon as I pay off my laptop, obviously it'll be back to business as usual, but that was definitely a little bit hard to wrap my head around this month and will probably still be a little bit of an emotional challenge for me next month, not putting as much towards savings, not putting as much towards debt, a different kind of debt, I guess. As a little bit of an update though, I ended up receiving an email from Apple earlier this week. I'm filming this on the 6th of February. I ended up getting an email from Apple earlier this week. Apparently, they just announced brand new MacBook Pros and MacBook Airs. And so basically, Apple was just letting me know that because I had ordered a laptop that was still in process, being built basically, that they were automatically upgrading me to the newest version of the MacBook Pro, the one that they announced earlier this week. And because of that, my laptop's actually gonna get here sooner, or at least it's supposed to. Originally, it said that it wasn't gonna come until March 16th, but I guess with these new MacBook Pros, you can start pre-ordering them now and they're gonna be in store by March 11th. So now my expected date of pickup is March 11th or 12th. So that's really exciting because my laptop keeps shutting off by itself. I don't know why. I don't know when it's gonna happen, and it's been very, very frustrating. So the sooner the better on getting that laptop. Also, the sooner I get it, the sooner I'm charged for it, and the sooner I can start paying it off. I hope that you all enjoyed this video. If you have any questions or comments about the way that I budget, how I use the Budget by Paycheck workbook, any of the other different products that I use, please do not hesitate to put a comment down below. And as always, everyone, please be safe. Bye bye.